Welcome to lecture 11 of Financial Econometrics. And in previous video, we shared some assumptions of regression. In this video, we are going to introduce you to the statistical package or statistical software that we are going to use in this course, which is Stata. So this course is all about the introduction of Stata software. Moving on to the contents. We are going to introduce you to the interface of Stata software, how the interface looks like, what are the different menus that we have, and what are the different windows that we have there that we can use. Then we are going to understand its command syntax. Remember, Stata is quite powerful software, and in addition to the menus, it also have a command line. So we can use commands, and that enhances the features of Stata quite a lot. And then we have a kind of editor which is called do file or do editor. And this is where the replicability of Stata comes in. So we can store all the commands or processes that we followed to change our data, to manipulate our data, to get the final shape of the data, all the tests that we performed, and all those commands would be stored in a file, and that file we would be able to execute that file at any time, and it would give us the same results in seconds. So let's start the Stata software. Okay, this is the Stata interface. The version of Stata that we are using is Stata 16. And the guide for installation is, I have provided you that in the slides, so you can use those slides to understand how to install this Stata. Okay, so once you open this Stata software, it would have different sections or different windows. It's better to understand those windows, and without understanding the interface, we wouldn't be able to understand what Stata is going to do. So first of all, Stata, this main window, which is here, you can see it. This is called the results window, and whatever tests we perform, their result would be displayed in this window. Okay, so before moving forward, it would be better idea that we load some data into Stata. So to load any data to Stata, we have to click on File menu. Okay, now we can import the data from Excel sheet, from the CSV file, or any other file format. But in this video, we aren't going to use those files format. We will discuss them in some other cases, and I will also share with you the example datasets that we will be using. Those will be related to Pakistan Stock Exchange or other datasets. But for now, we are going to use example data. And whenever you install Stata, it would also install some example datasets. And these datasets comes pre-installed with any version of Stata. So we would start with this, and whenever you would install the Stata in your system, you would also have these data sets. So click on example data, and this new window would appear. Then click on example dataset installed with Stata, and we are going to use this auto dataset. We click on use, and by clicking on use, this would load that data, this example data, in our Stata memory. So now you will see there are a bunch of variables, and there is a command generated here, but we will discuss that in a while. Let's close this window. Okay, so you would note two things. One is this command. It is sysuse space auto.dta. Now when we are working with Stata, there are multiple types of files that we have. One type of file is called .dta. Remember, .dt is the extension, and it stands for the data file. So whenever Stata saves a data file, it would save it in a DTA format. So this file name is auto.dta, and this sysuse is the command that is used to load this example data. Remember, it won't be used in every case when you would load your customized data, the data that you would be using for your thesis or your project. But in case when we are loading example data from Stata examples data memory. So what I wanted to share is that whatever you type or whatever this Stata would perform, it would be written here. And then second thing that you would have noticed is this variable window. Remember the heading variable. This was the results window, this is the variable window. This variable window would have the name of the variables that we have. Now, for any statistical package, variables aren't defined in the terms of, say, the variables that we define in our research methodology textbook. In our research methodology, we divide variables into dependent, independent, moderating, or mediating, or any other kind of variable. But for a statistical package, and not just limited to Stata, for any statistical package, variable is any series of data. So in this case, we have a data related to price of different automobiles. We have their mileage per say maybe liter or gallon. We have their trunk size, we have their weight, their length, and whether that car is a domestic car or a foreign made car. So what I am trying to make you understand is that variable for a statistical package is just a series of data. It is just one column of data, right? And then we have label, and we would explain this later on, but just for now, just understand that it is the descriptive name of variable. So for variable name, we have written, say for example, MPG, and it doesn't make sense. So to give more descriptive, we define labels, and this is mileage, and within parentheses we have written MPG. We can write any label here. When you click on any variable, down below you would notice its properties would appear. Remember, it's the properties window. So if I click on price variable, its name, its label, its type, the format, etc. would appear. If I click on the length variable, then its properties would appear. And we can change the name or the label by unlocking the properties window. And this is the property of this whole file. So this file name is autodata, and the label of this file, the number of variables that it have, and the number of observation, its size, etc. Right? So we have understood the result window, the variable window, and the property window. Now let's come to the command window. So remember, Stata, we can input or ask Stata to perform some task by either clicking on the menus, or we can simply type a command. So let's say I type a command summarize, and what this summarize command does, it generates the descriptive statistics of variables. So when I press enter, you would notice that it has generated a descriptive statistics of variable, the number of observations there are in the price variable, its mean, the mean price of the cars that we have in our data is $6,165, its minimum value, maximum value, and so on and so forth. But before this table, you would notice that there is a dot and the command that the stat I have executed. So the command window is used to give some specific command to Stata to perform. It can be related to generating a new variable, it can be related to performing certain tasks. The similar command can be performed by clicking on statistics, summarize, and you would see there are different statistical tests we can perform. We have time series tests, we have survival analysis, we have structured equation modeling, and we have linear models, we have ANOVA, regression diagnostic, linear regression. But the command that we just performed was descriptive statistic or summarize command, and that is in summarize tests. And then this is the command that we just used. We click on this command and you will notice a dialog box that would appear. If I leave this variable text box blank, it would assume all the variables. So in this case, it assumed all the variables and it gave us the descriptive statistics of all the variables. So similarly, if I leave this box empty, it would give us the descriptive statistics of all the variables. But let me select 3 variables, right? And if I click on OK, it would again summarize, generate the descriptive statistics. But because I asked it to generate for 3 variables, that is what it did so. So the idea was that we generated summary statistics using command line, and when we generated summary statistics using menus. And for the beginners, they always tend to think that if we have menus, then why do we need command? And this would be more clear when we move towards the other tasks, to the advanced level tasks. But let me give you an idea. Remember, in research, we are more concerned with replicability, or let's say even if replicability wasn't the issue, we wanted to perform the same result, or we wanted to share with our co-author what process we performed, then we won't be able to, give them the idea that we clicked on summary statistics menu and then so on and so forth. It would be cumbersome. So instead, we can just copy and send them the commands that we performed, or we can save them for later use. If later on we realize that we didn't wanted the summary statistics of weight variable, then the file that we have saved, the list of the commands that we have saved, we will simply delete the weight variable and copy paste all those commands in this command window, and all those tasks would be performed within seconds. So we wouldn't have to write them all again. So we have discussed the command window. The last one is the history window. In previous versions of Stata, it was called preview window, but it doesn't matter what its name is. The idea is that what it does, whatever command, whatever analysis, whatever task we performed in Stata, it would store that command here. So you would see that first I loaded the data, the command was sysuse, the command is here. Then we summarize the data, then we summarize the 3 variables using the menu. So whatever command it generated, even if we are using menus, it would obviously generate a command. The backend is the command. So what we can do is we can simply click a single click on a command from the history menu, history window, and that command would appear in the command, and we can simply edit it, or we can simply press enter to re-execute it. Or we can simply double click on a command from the history window and it would be executed. This is where it has been executed. So now you get an idea of the interface. There are a few other windows, but let me discuss one more important window, and this is the data window or data view. We can either access this data view by typing the edit command, or we can click on this button which says data editor edit within parentheses, and click on this button and it would open a data view. And what data view is, it is a spreadsheet similar to Excel, or if you have used other softwares you would have seen this kind of spreadsheet. If you have used SPSS, then the data view that SPSS would have this kind of spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet would store all the, it contains all the variables and the data that is there. So we have Remember, we had 74 observation, all the data is there. So you get an idea. Okay, so once we have understood the basic interface of Stata, let me give you some idea of the Stata syntax, the command syntax. And before that, if you want to open the help menu of any command, and if you are serious about Stata, you are going to use this help menu quite a lot. So you type help space and then the command that you want to understand. So in this case, there is a command summarize which generates descriptive statistics, and we want to understand the summarize command. So we type help and then the command name, we press enter, and this window would appear, which is the viewer window, or we call it the help window. And there would be this heading which is called syntax. So what is syntax? Whenever we human speak or we communicate in language, we have certain rules for that language, and let's call them the grammar rules. Similarly, for communicating with machines, they have their own rules, they have their own grammar, and we have to follow that grammar to be able to communicate with machine, and that grammar is basically syntax. So syntax is nothing but the rules that we need to follow to write a command. So Stata have its own syntax, and that syntax is written here. So how to read the syntax? We have the command name, summarize. So a command would always start with the command name, and then we have other different options, or let's not call them option, let's call them different items that we have. So first thing, in this summarize command, you would see that SU is underlined. This underline means that we can abbreviate this command to maximum of or to minimum of SU. So if instead of writing summarize the whole word, we only wrote SU, then even then this command would be executed. So let me do it. Let me write SU, and you would notice that again the summarize command was executed. So we can write SU double M, and again it would be executed. So what this underline means that we can abbreviate a command to a minimum of these two alphabets, and it is different for every command. So you would see this thing can be abbreviated to simply D, and this thing can be abbreviated to mean. So underline means how much we can abbreviate a command. Then we have different items in brackets. So first understand what bracket means, and bracket means that anything that is in bracket is optional. It is not mandatory that command would even execute without these things that are in brackets. So if you look at the summarize command, everything is in bracket except for this word summarize, and you would have noticed that we could even run this command without anything else, or just by writing the summarize word itself. So this bracket means that anything in bracket is optional. So first thing, within bracket there is var list, and this var list stands for variable list. Var stands for variable. What this means is that this summarize command can take a single variable as an input, or it can take multiple variables. So you would have noticed that when we use this command, summarize, rep, headroom, weight, we summarize these three variables. So we have three variables, or more than three variables we can have. So that means that we can write more than one variable in this command. If it was written var name or new var or old var, then we could have only input one variable in that command. So let me give you an idea. There is a command by the name of generate. It is used to generate a new variable, and you will notice there is an item which is new var, and it isn't in brackets. So first thing, this new var is mandatory, right? The second thing, new var isn't a list. If it was a list, then there would be term list, but it isn't a list. So that means that this command would only accept one variable name, and new var simply means that variable should be new and it shouldn't exist in our data set. So if I use this command generate and I wrote price, then it would give me an error because it is asking me for a new variable name, for a variable name that isn't there already. So let's get back to summarize. Then we have different modifiers. These modifiers are if and in these, we would discuss them in advanced chapters. These are used to limit the scope of a command, right? Now, important thing is this options, and options are used to enhance the capability of a command. So to write an option, the option comes after comma. So anything that is after comma are options. And in this case, this is in bracket, so it means it is not mandatory to write options. So the detail of options are always given beneath the syntax of the command. So in this case, you can see this table. We have options, we have their description. It says that there is a detail option which can be used to get detail addition statistics. There is a mean only option which suppresses the display and calculate only the mean, and so on. So we can use different options to enhance the capability of summarize command. So let's use detail option, and you would see that there is an underline, D is underlined, which means that we can abbreviate this detail option to the term D. So let's use this option. So now we write the summarize command name, then we have a variable list which is not mandatory. Then after variable list, we write the comma, and now we need to input options. So we can write a detail, and it would give the detailed statistics. Remember, in simple summarize, we have observation, mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. Or we can simply write D. We can abbreviate this command, and instead of writing summarize, we can simply write sum. So just to give you an idea that we can abbreviate these commands. So if you press enter, you would notice that we have the detailed descriptive statistics of different variables. We had three variables: the repair variable, the headroom, and the weight variable. We asked Stata to give us detailed descriptive statistics of these three variables. So you would notice that the repair record variable, there are these percentiles, and this 50th percentile is the median. We have number of observation, which was also there, but the new thing is we have now variance, kurtosis, skewness, right? So these are all additional detailed descriptive statistics. So what I meant to say is that we can enhance the capability of a command by using its options. And if we move toward some another command, let's say the same generate command, you would notice that this command won't have any options. So let's go to regress command. You will notice that it have options of its own, right? It can suppress the constant term. We can use different options with it. We can use robust, standard error, etc. The point is that every command have its own options. It isn't necessary that you saw with the summarize command, all those options aren't here. So every command is having options of their own. Okay, lastly, we are going to understand the do file. Okay, to open the do file, we need to click this icon which says new do file editor. We click on it and a new window would appear, which is a blank window. So what we do is we copy commands from this file, from this history window. These are the commands that we used. So I want the sysuse command. I hold the control key, then I copy the command that I need, right click. Either I can send them to the do file editor, or I can simply copy them and then paste them in this do file. So now I have all these commands and I can save them, save this file on my, in any folder that I like. Now, let's clear this Stata, and the command that we use to clear the data is clear. Now you would notice we do not have any dataset installed in Stata. We do not have any variables, right? So that means the data that we installed is now gone. And even let's say close this Stata window. Let me first save this file. Let me save this in E drive, and this is the sample file. Okay, let me close this. Okay, now we closed Stata. Let me reopen it. Okay, so now we have nothing on, it is blank, right? We have lost all the analysis, but the only thing that we did was save the do file. Let's open that do file. We click on the do editor icon that we used. We click on this folder open, and then we navigate to the place where we saved the sample file. We double click on it. It opens the file. Okay. Now we will see, let's select all these commands, and let's say in this case I didn't wanted the detailed descriptive statistics of weight or headroom or even the repair variable. I just wanted the detailed descriptive statistics of the price variable. Okay, I changed it. My supervisor asked me, or my reviewer asked me, or I realized that I made the mistake. I corrected the mistake, and now I will select this command. I will click on execute, and you would see that the data had been loaded. The first command had been executed. It gave me the summary statistics, then it gave me the summary statistics of the three variables, then it gave me the summary statistics of the price variable, which wasn't there in the previous analysis, the detailed descriptive statistics. So you get an idea that how powerful this do file is. We save the command, and it is a kind of a program that we have written, and we can execute it later on. We can change it, we can modify it, or we can use it for some other project that we want to use. So let's end this lecture here, and in next lecture, what we are going to do is we are going to run the correlation and descriptive statistics and the regression analysis, the simple OLS regression analysis that we understood in our previous lectures.